And let's get started with Sheriff's Department. And I'm losing everyone. There's so many screens here. Bill, did you want to go ahead and start off?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having us here. We are going to have a number of deputies deployed out in the area, basically following the same plan as we did previous years. We're also working with the Washington Traffic Safety Commission to schedule a DUI emphasis patrol in the area that will include local agencies and the state patrol. So we'll have those extra resources. And I think if people see we're serious about DUI early on Saturday, that will have some impact. We're also have scheduled the jail work crews to be out there on Monday to help with the litter control. And I've got Under Sheriff Chadwick on the line, who's reviewing our more specific operational plan. So I'll see if there's anything he wants to add or questions that need to be answered.
Good morning. Really, I don't want to take up too many. I'm sure there's probably some specific questions. So if there's anything folks have to ask, I think the sheriff summarized. For us, it's business as usual. We usually staff Birch Bay for the 4th of July and focus on making sure everybody is safe. That usually comes down to use of fireworks, alcohol violations, things like that. And as the sheriff alluded to, there will also be a DUI emphasis out in that area as well. So unless there's any specific questions, again, for us, we prepare for this every year. And I think everyone that's been involved is used to the number of crowds and number of people that show up in Birch Bay. And we expect that will probably continue this year.
Doug, this is Dorley Booth. Since I work with the Sheriff's Department in regards to Birch Bay, in regards to the 4th of July, this happens to fall on the weekend, which is always the least what we really like to see happen out here. Did I hear that you will be starting some patrol on Friday night as well?
We will have patrols, and we'll be focusing on patrolling both Friday and Saturday as we anticipate for the weekend people coming into the area.
Okay.
And we also see this as the only upside of the border closing. That's been unfortunate. That's been extended, but it's not unfortunate for the 4th of July that hopefully we'll have less people here that coming down and engaging in ruckus behavior. So,
Sheriff, can I ask you, what is your sense of, everybody feeling like, I think I heard from Ferndale that they're calling the 4th of July release day. And that's a little scary when you hear that. What's your take on, are people going to just be gung-ho to celebrate, or what are you hearing?
Well, I'm hoping they're not. And I hadn't heard that term release date before, but they have been pent up, and we might find more locals there than we normally do. They've been cooped in their houses since March. But in the other turn, I think the state and the health department, the state Secretary of Public Health has talked about increasing concerns with the COVID. It's making a resurgence here and locally. I'm sure John will talk more about that when he comes on. But that is that's a concern, not only the disorder, but it becomes a public health issue as well.
Thank you.
Does anyone have a question for the Sheriff's Department that you want to type in or raise your hand? It's hard to see.
I have some questions that were emailed if you want me to ask those first.
Yeah, go ahead, Danielle.
So Julie Sagian, I'm sorry if I said your last name wrong. She says, my husband and I were wondering with the violent protesting that has occurred in Seattle with fireworks, why the community of Birch Bay would allow fireworks on the 4th.
Well, I mean, the state law governs when fireworks are allowed and when they're not allowed, and that's what we follow. We know a lot of people purchase fireworks that exceed what the legal limits are, and they're readily available in our community. And there's, other than what the fire marshal, I mean, he'll put out regulations with concern of the fire dangers, but people are going to do what they're going to do. So I don't think there's a good way to regulate that.
Okay. And then from James Ponder, it says, will officers be assigned a zone to patrol along Birch Bay Drive, or will it be more of a collaborative assignment? If patrolling will be zoned, will each business or condominium be provided the assigned officer's contact information should their assistance be required?
No, they'll be assigned out there on an ad hoc basis. We need to be able to move our resources and be nimble to handle anything that might arise. So no, and sometimes we need to pair the deputies together based on the size of the crowd, based on their attitude, or if there's any hostility. So we need to have the flexibility rather than commit to that. If someone has a problem, they should call 911 and we'll respond.
Okay. And then the last question I have in my email is from Tim Lynch. It says, is law enforcement planning on protecting our property here in Birch Bay? Should we board up our bay facing windows? Thanks, Tim.
We plan on protecting property in Birch Bay, and that's an individual decision. That's not something we're recommending or advocating, but if someone felt more comfortable doing that, we certainly encourage them to do so.
And then Raina asks, are you going to be policing mask use?
Well, we just issued a statement on that. That's probably it's impractical, except in aggravating circumstances where someone refuses to comply. Our position has been to try to educate, try to get people to voluntarily comply. And we've actually had pretty much 100% success rate when we ask someone to do that. We don't have the jail space, we don't have the resources, and we're also concerned about if we were to issue citations, having our deputies in protracted communication with people that aren't wearing masks and start infecting our workforce. So we just, continually communicate that people should exhibit common courtesy and common sense and wear their masks. And that's the message we're focused on.
And Ralph asks, will there be a set time for fireworks to end? And if so, how will this be communicated?
Again, that's governed by that's in the revised code of Washington and in the county codes, the times they're allowed to use fireworks.
And we post that on our website. We went ahead and posted that link and we posted on the windows probably starting today. So.
But I can tell you, on the other hand, people are gonna ignore that. That's just historical. We don't have the ability, the resources to go out and really find everybody that's being irresponsible.
I might come in and say that the county, I think 2 years ago, shortened up the amount of time that was on their books for you to be able to shoot off fireworks. And so unfortunately this year, July 3rd, July 4th, and July 5th are all go ahead for fireworks from 6 p.m. Until 11 p.m. on the 3rd, 6 p.m. until midnight on the 4th, and then on the 5th, 6 p.m. until 11 p.m. on the 5th. So we know, those of us that live in Birch Bay, the 6th and the 7th and the 8th will have big ones go off about 1 o'clock in the morning to wake everybody up. That's just the usual thing that happens here. One question that goes along with that, illegal fireworks. Now, I've also heard that fireworks are cheap this year because there's no big public fireworks displays, that they're sort of pushing some of this off and selling it cheaper. I don't know whether that's true or not, but one of the things that I see that's so dangerous in Birch Bay is the bottle rockets. And I'm wondering if there'll be any, I remember one year on the beach where the deputies went down and kind of asked people to open their bags and took their bottle rockets. Will any of that happen this year?
Well, we don't really have that falls under search and seizure, and we really can't be going asking people to open their bags. I'm not sure, Doug, is the fire marshal going to be down there do they have the resources to be there on the 4th of July as well?
Other than providing some resources for storage, I don't believe they'll be there, but as in years past, deputies, when they come across illegal fireworks, and that's anything that's obviously Class C fireworks are legal And we'll be putting out, I know the fire marshal's office has already put out some good documents that show folks what is legal and what's not. As a general rule, if it's on a stick, just because it's you're not able to control it, and not only is it a risk to bystanders, but also as a fire hazard. So bottle rockets, any of those skyrockets on a stick, firecrackers, M80s, those kind of things, those obviously are illegal, and the fire marshal has posted a flyer to indicate what those are. But when we come across those, obviously that is something that folks can be cited for, or oftentimes it's just those fireworks are confiscated and then disposed of appropriately by the fire marshal's office.
We have a
I
couple.
think we have a couple more questions. Danielle, you want to read those?
Ponder asks, what time will patrolling start and approximately what time will it end?
As a general rule, we're up there shortly after noon, and we're usually, it really depends on the traffic in the area, the number of people. Generally, we try and start moving people out of the area between 11 and 12 o'clock, and we'll remain there as long as we believe there's a public safety issue and a need for us to be there. In years past, people are pretty good about, once we request that people start clearing their area, most people move out pretty quickly.
Okay, and then we have a couple comments. Maureen Kelly says, I just had to speak up. It is awful, not only for people, but for our dear animals. I feel like I need to leave my home due to the noise, and that is just not right.
That's an issue we hear about countywide, is, you know, that goes on. As long as they're legal, we're going to continue to do that. City of Bellingham banned all fireworks, but, you know, they still have people deploying them. They still have animals that are distressed as a result. It's just something that's difficult to control when there's parts of our county that could sell fireworks of any dimension or magnitude, and bring them to areas where it's unlawful to use.
I do know that Bow Wow and Woofs too has some solutions for pets, so you might check that, something that might help calm them for that part. Then Richard Wernick said, don't forget the local Canadians who will be launching fireworks on Canada Day, July 1st.
Well, we'll respond to calls, you know, as we get them. We won't have extra patrols out there on the necessarily. We can't deal with that by July 1st. And to be honest with you too, it's just something else I should convey. We're facing massive budget cuts and defunding of our operations due to the COVID downturn in revenues. We have 5 deputy sheriff positions that are now frozen that we can't fill. That's going to impact the neighborhood deputy program. So we're going to be really short on resources until we're able to pull out of the COVID and we're able to get funding restored, that we can have adequate staffing. So this is going to be a real challenge. I think we're geared up adequately for the 4th of July, and depending on our law enforcement partners and maybe a little bit of luck and get some rain early in the evening.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, but that probably won't happen. But we're just so the community knows that we're going to be going through a rough few months in terms of being able to provide resources.
Well, I already told you, this is Dora Lee, that I'm doing the rain dance out here, and every
Start
once in a
early.
while it works.
Start on July 1st.
No, July 1st, we probably won't see the Canadian holiday here as much with the border closed. Yeah, I want to thank you, Sheriff, and your crew. Every year you control, somehow you control the chaos. And let's hope that it continues to happen this year. The other thing, you talked about budget cuts. I know that this is an expensive adventure for you to do this for our community. And what did I hear? The number $30,000 or something like that by the time it all gets said and done. And we just appreciate that's a huge expenditure for our community. And I want you to know we appreciate it.
Well, we try to prioritize it. We know that, you know, It's a unique community out there, and we try to provide what resources we can. You know, the whole county is challenged, and they have people thinking now that we have more deputies than what we need. And we have the lowest ratio of deputies to citizens, almost half of what the cities have. And we cover, if you count the fresh water, we cover 2,500 square miles. So it's a challenge. So we do our best with what we were allotted.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions for the Sheriff's Department really fast?
Carol Hasselbrock is trying to ask a question.
Oh, yeah, I see her.
Go
Carol?
Okay. Does the sheriff's department have any kind of estimate of the number of people that might be at the bay? Do you have any way of knowing?
The only thing we can rely on is historical data, what we've seen in past years. But this is going to be kind of a unique year with the Canadian border closed. And then at the same time, that'll affect the number of people that will come, but also affecting it may be the cities that have fireworks displays are not having them this year. Blaine, Bellingham have canceled theirs. So, you know, if people are searching for fireworks, they may end up showing up at Birch Bay. So it's kind of hard to make a prediction of what we're going to see this year.
The last question I have in my emails from Tim Lynch: if Birch Bay gets full and overwhelmed, will the sheriff's office do temporary road closings?
As in years past, we have contingency plans for if the traffic flow becomes so much that one, we're not able to handle that flow, and two, if it creates more of a public safety issue. And a lot of times that happens when people are starting to leave the bay. And we do put up barricades and temporarily close roads so that we can facilitate the safe flow of traffic.
And then there's one more. From Julie, any word of news media being present?
I'm not aware of any media, but I'm sure that as in years past, most of the events around the county are covered by local media. So I would anticipate we will at least see local media up there, and they'll have some questions and probably be taking some pictures, but we're happy to answer any questions they have as well.
Thank you, guys. And if you guys still have a question, one more. If Blaine and Bellingham canceled, why didn't Birch Bay?
Well, again, Birch Bay isn't a planned event. It's just it's a great area, and people congregate there because it's a nice place to spend the day with your family. And as the residents can attest to, they get to share their home with a lot of other county residents and people from out of the area. And again, that's why we staff it heavily and we prepare for it. And I would anticipate it'll be similar to years past.
And before we get to the next question, this actually be a good segue. Thank you, Sheriff, for answering all those questions and being on. John from the Health Department is here to answer some questions, or maybe you want to talk and say a few words about social distancing and what we can do to keep us all healthy out here.
Sure. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you guys including us in this discussion. I just want to say Erica Lautenbach, who is our public health director, was unable to make it today, but I have been on calls in the past in regards to the chamber and seeing faces that I am vaguely familiar with besides those that I work with. Dora Lee in specifics, because from an environmental health standpoint, from where I originate from, we work with solid waste in providing receptacles along the drive and bringing out the bins so that when cleanup takes place, we do that. So that's really where I normally come from. But again, what an interesting year we're all living in. I think the big thing for me is that, yes, I can provide some information. Specifically, I'm more than happy to answer some questions. I think you've been inundated in regards to information regarding masking, regarding social distancing, the issue that unfortunately we weren't able to make it to phase 3, which would allow larger gatherings than what we have in phase 2. Again, I can spout off facts in that respect, but I think the big thing is that, you know, Sheriff Elfo did a very good job in saying where we're at. I noticed that Deb Slater is on as well, and she certainly, representing the JIC, has some information to talk about what messaging is going to be going out to the general public. I guess I would just ask all of you, you know, first, good luck. You know, I know that it's going to be a challenging time. I hear over the years how things have progressed and how it continues to progress, and this just adds another issue, I guess, to the whole safety. So again, you know, I guess what I would say is that, you know, social distancing is necessary. How that takes place is going to be very, very challenging. I think that as ambassadors of Birch Bay, you know, I would ask all of you to make sure that, you know, you are talking with individuals as you see them not socially distancing. I think it's everyone's responsibility to try and make sure that individuals are wearing masking. If you can maintain the 6 feet, that's fantastic. We certainly recognize that as being one of the guiding principles that we're trying to message. Again, social distancing, groups of 5 currently in phase 2. It says no larger than groups of 5. Wow. I can't imagine how that is not going to be adhered to. Again, whether it be phase 3 or phase 2, numbers don't mean a lot to a lot of individuals who are excited to have family, see people that they don't normally get to see, you know, and be able to celebrate like they are. So again, you know, I'm here basically listening. If you have questions for me, I'm more than happy to try and do my best to answer those. But again, I would actually kind of step sideways and ask Deb Slater to provide some of the information that we're planning on getting out to the public.
Yeah, Deb, maybe you could speak on that. That's answer these questions about the encouragement of social distancing.
Sure, thanks, John and Liz. Well, I guess I could put my JIC hat on from Whatcom Unified and tell you about our phase 2 campaign, which was launched about a week ago, specifically talking about what we need to do in phase 2 to get through phase 2. So we launched a campaign involving broadcast and radio, Whatcom Talk, and a digital component as well. The radio part of this is going to pivot this week on Monday to specifically talk about 4th of July and to specifically ask people to keep it, to keep from gathering in public places, our beaches. We don't necessarily point out Birch Bay specifically in this spot, but it is a big encouragement to figure out different ways to celebrate 4th of July, keep from gathering in those public places, and stay off our beaches. So be looking for that on the radio next week. We also contracted with Whatcom Talk, and they wrote a long form article about alternative ways to enjoy 4th of July. That should be released today or tomorrow. And on Monday, the health department, specifically the health department, is going to be releasing messaging regarding 4th of July and specifically mentioning Birch Bay. And if you can stay away from Birch Bay, that would be appreciated. All under the public health urging to not gather, not congregate. We'll probably also share that video that you guys produced, that wonderful video that the chamber produced about if you do come and visit, you know, you're welcome to come and visit, but if you do, please wear a mask and practice social distancing. So we will be utilizing that as well and linking to that content. So I think we're doing what we can to encourage people to celebrate safely. And I think be looking for that message specifically from the health department coming out next week. I think that can be really powerful for you folks to share.
Does anyone have any questions?
We have a question here in the chat. It says, will the chamber be limiting parking facilities? Liz, do you want to answer that one?
Well, me and Dorley can talk about that. We've talked about some of the people that own the property behind us, and they might want that blocked off just for their own safety. So yes, that might be blocked off. And I think, Dorley, the water slides too, right?
Yes, Ian, manager of the water slides, would like that, the water slides area blocked off.
So yes, those two places will be blocked off. But as far as public parking, that's not us. So we just been asked by the owners of the private parking to block it off.
I do have a couple of questions back in my email. One is a comment from Tim Lynch. When talking with friends, they say Birch Bay Fireworks is all over Facebook. It is the place to be. And then a follow-up question, will they be providing extra porta potties due to the extra people? Dorley, you want to answer the porta potty question?
They're coming.
Well, we have struggled long and hard with this one because, of course, no one likes the porta potties to begin with, but that's what we're stuck with until we get some real restrooms here in our new beach park. And we decided, you know, it's really a problem if you don't have them, and yes, yet it's a problem. The health department, we've talked, it's a problem if you do have them. They're not the cleanest place to be, and so we're concerned about that, but we're going to plaster them with signs, reminders to, you know, be sure you use the hand sanitizer and this kind of thing, and be aware that, caution in other words. But we are not going to be ordering the 10 or 12 extra ones that we put down at the beach park. We are going to be only ordering the number that we normally put on the drive, and that's about 8, I think, besides the one at the chamber. So one of the messages that sort of could go out is, you know, we're not making it real comfortable to come, and there's a problem because if you're here for 2 hours or 3 hours, you need a facility, and it won't be that wonderful.
Thank you, Dorley. Mm-hmm. And I think they come next week, right?
They come on the 1st.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Carol.
Mariners Cove, which is where I live, has hired some security to keep our parking private. What our main concern as a community at Mariners Cove is if the crowd gets out of hand, we sit very close to the road, and we're concerned about property damage. And in years past, the control, I'm not saying it's not a law enforcement problem, it's a crowd problem, that it has appeared to be almost out of control, and a powder keg to have real chaos and crowd manipulation. We're very concerned about that this year because of the added stress over racial tensions and things. So what should we do as a community? We have some plans to keep our places private, but we sit very close to the road and public parking on right in front of us. So that's a big concern for Mariners Cove. Is there anything we should be doing differently, and what can we expect?
Did you say you were going to try and keep people from parking there with your security people?
Not on the street where it's public, but behind us. We always have a problem with people trying to overtake our parking lot, our parking. And we also have problems with people relieving themselves, coming across our property, finding a little where they think is private. Sometimes they don't care whether it's private, and they relieve themselves. We really have a mess every year. We anticipate it will be much bigger this year.
Mm-hmm. One of the things about porta potties, when the chamber tries to put porta potties out, many of the places like Mariners Cove won't allow them to be put there as we put them out through the year. And that's a large parking area. And Mariners Cove has usually, if they're placed there, asked us to please remove them. So that's one of the problems. And I think Deb Hiller is on, and Deb is up at Grand Bay, and they have the same problem up there. And so Deb Grand Bay Condominium Association has ordered their own porta potties for that particular time, and then they're removed. So that's one option that you might think about, because when we've tried to put them there as the chamber, they've always asked us to remove them. So we do not put them there anymore. So you might do that on your own.
There's a few questions.
Yep.
Deb, do you want to, it came to me privately, you want to ask your question?
Oh, I was just wondering with if we're going to be getting the crowds from Bellingham and Blaine. And the parking is limited, obviously, with the water slides, etc. I just wonder if there could be somebody posted at the entranceways of Birch Bay just to kind of monitor, like suddenly if you find that the crowd is going all the way up Birch Bay Linden Road. I mean, this is the worst case scenario, but could there be police or someone posted saying, there's no more parking in Birch Bay, you're going to have to turn around, or something like that? I don't know if that's ever possible.
They closed the road.
Yeah, I think that is, as in years past, we understand that parking is limited, and once you get so much traffic in there, especially when it becomes, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic, we regularly start to either restrict traffic flow to one way, so you can come in, but you have to go out. We don't allow two-way traffic. And sometimes we even push that perimeter out a little farther up towards the water slides and other areas and don't allow anybody else into the bay. But that is really dependent on the number of people, pedestrian traffic, public safety, and then the number of cars trying to enter the area. And that usually happens just before dusk. Right about the time that people are starting to light off personal fireworks. And we do have contingencies planned for that.
There's a couple of questions regarding parking. Keith Alize is encouraged for folks to block off potential parking. I could attempt to block off parking spaces at the C shop. Is that just I don't even know where Keith went. Are you just saying you would like to, or you want to know if it's encouraged for businesses to block off parking?
I was just wondering if you specifically were trying to encourage people to block off parking. The section in front of the building, it'd be fairly tricky to kind of keep it blocked off, but I can try and do that. But I can probably block off the area, access to the market property and our crew parking back around behind the building. I plan on being there to kind of keep an eye on things. I like to try and keep the Roman candles off the roof and stuff like that. So, taking up the tradition, my father standing around with a hose on the 4th of July. Anyway, if you think that would be a good thing, then I could go ahead and try and do it. What's the public safety thinking on it? What would Sheriff Felpo and stuff think?
Sheriff, you want to take that one up?
Unmute myself. Doug is involved in the operational plan out there and knows more of the specifics of what's been worked on, so I'll just turn it over to him. Thanks.
All righty, Doug. What do you think?
I mean, as far as private property, you're certainly entitled to do what you want with your private property. We're not restricting any of the public parking spots, but obviously once the parking spot is, there's limited parking there and they get taken up fairly quickly. And then that you start getting a lot of drive-through traffic, and as the evening goes on, that number becomes to a point where that's when we start barricading the roadways and redirecting traffic, just because it becomes more of a public safety issue with all the pedestrians. But it sounds like there have been some plans with different businesses about restricting their private parking. That's certainly up to you, but we're not going to restrict any of the public parking at this time.
Hey Doug, if I'm just trying to be supportive of you guys, what would you prefer I did? we're not, the ski shop's not gonna be operating really, so.
Sure. Again, I'm going to leave that up to you. There's obviously going to be a lot of people that they're going to find parking somewhere. And again, sometimes it's easier if there's parking spots. Otherwise, they just continue to turn circles, hoping that a parking space is going to become open.
Right.
Frank had a question. Will the sheriff's department teams be addressing illegal parking? Because I know we've had some troubles recently, and I think Public Works put some signs out, no motor vehicles out on the berm. But I don't know if you've noticed, people have been going straight out and parking out on the berm.
That's something we regularly address each and every year, and for the most part, we're able to get compliance once we just have to track down the register owner of those vehicles and move them along, especially if they're protruding out into the lane of travel. It becomes more of a safety issue.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments?
Dorley?
Oh, here's a question. I have a question. Will there be any tabling events from the health department in order to educate visitors about social distancing, distributing masks? And before maybe Deb or John, you talk about that, just to let you know, we still have some masks here at the visitor center that were given us from the health department to disperse. So if you need a mask, come by. But John, you want to talk about that?
Certainly. So what I would say is in regards to tabling, that basically is just a resource issue for the health department. That's not part of our communication strategy that we've had for that. Most of it will be via radio spots and information like that going out. We're not planning on having a table there. As far as masking goes, I think, Liz, you mentioned that you still have some there, which is great. We at the health department are not into the distribution of masks. We have been working with Whatcom Unified Command. And again, whether or not they have the masks available for that would have to be something that I could certainly check on.
Liz, we need to save some masks for the cleanup crew because we've notified them that there would be masks and gloves.
Yeah, we have some.
Save some out for them. Thanks.
I have another question from Tim Lynch in my email. Will the sheriff's area be at the Birch Bay Park, or will parking be allowed?
I do not believe that will not be open to public parking, and we will have, as in years past, that's usually where we set up our main command post, and that's where we direct and redeploy our resources from.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Danielle, do you have any?
I do not see any more in the chat, and I do not have any more in my email. Billy, did you have a question?
Yeah, so we need help cleaning up, everybody. So if you have people that would come down and help us on the 5th, we start about when, Dorley? About 8 or 9?
Sunday morning, the 5th, I will be down at the Vic Visitor Center at 8:30, and we will do cleanup on Sunday. You'll get bags. I've got 630 litter bags from Public Works. We'll have gloves and masks, and we'll start cleaning the beach then. The bags, the trash bags full of debris will be set up by the enhanced shoulder of Birch Bay Drive and around the garbage cans, the trash cans that are already there. Many of you know what that looks like. Trash cans are full, and then there's a ton of stuff around the trash cans, and that stuff that's single things, boxes and all, need to be bagged so that when the sheriff's crew comes on Monday, it will be easier for them to pick things up and get things to the 3 very large dumpsters that we have. We normally collect over 4 tons of garbage off the beaches at Birch Bay, and our community has been absolutely fabulous to make this happen every year. We will have Sunday and Monday to clean this year because there's always those that will go out. It's a weekend on Sunday night, the 5th, and the shoot off again. So the beach will get not as bad as it was the morning of the 5th, but we'll need a quick cleanup on the 6th. And then the sheriff's crew comes at 8:45, and miraculously, everything is done and gone by about noon on Monday. The big dumpsters are gone and we look beautiful again. But what's going to happen this year is that our community is going to get to look at this garbage and trash all day Sunday, lined up along Birch Bay Drive. And in some ways, I don't think that's such a bad thing. We usually have it cleaned up in 6 hours in the morning. But this is kind of going to be a show this year of just exactly the amount of trash that this celebration brings to our community. Another thing I want to say about our community right now is I don't think many people know that we know we're an older community because seniors know where to go and live that's beautiful. So our median age here in Birch Bay is 53.5 years. So we're a vulnerable community when it comes to the COVID. And normally the median for Washington State, the median age is 37. And for Bellingham, I believe it's 37.5. So we're definitely more of a vulnerable community. So what I'm doing when I talk to people, I'm asking them to respect our community as a resort community and a place where seniors love to be. And then be responsible. If you decide to come out here and celebrate, then be responsible because this is a residential community. So that's the message that I'm trying to get across. And I think Billy and I will have the opportunity to be on Mike Kent's program tomorrow morning. What's it called? Mike, Realtor Mike or?
Radio Real Estate.
Radio Real Estate. And Mike has been doing this for years. And Sheriff, if you have a chance to call in, it's at 10 o'clock. We'd love to have you call in and you know, chat if you can. It's probably your day off. I'll send you a note. Anyway, that's going to happen tomorrow, and we're going to try and have a little chat about what's going to be happening at Birch Bay on Mike's program.
We had a couple more hands up. Ruth Higgins had her hand up, and also Carol. So Ruth, why don't you go ahead and go first, and then Carol.
Okay. Hi, I'm Ruth Higgins, now a long-term resident of Birch Bay. And there's an issue that has provoked me for most of the years I've been here, which is now 17. And I think it is exaggerated this year by the development of the berm and the virus. And that's walking and biking safety. Apparently a lot of people that come here come from the city and they don't understand that you're supposed to walk facing traffic. And even cyclists aren't aware that they're supposed to be in the bicycle lanes. I understand they've been on the berm a lot since it was developed. And I was wondering if we, as a community, could create, well, I talked to Dorley about maybe putting a sign up. She says there's no room left on our telephone poles. She reminded me or told me, I don't think I was aware of this before, that Patrick Ellisy had a flyer that he did, and I contacted him, and he agreed that it would be great to have some sort of a notification, perhaps flyers in the public places, restaurants and lodgings and so on, that would educate the public on their safety and ours. As Dorley said, there are some drivers who just are so impressed with Birch Bay that they sort of forget where the lines are. So I would like to work with anybody that would like to do something about this. And I know it's not going to get done in time for the 4th, but we could perhaps get a draft out to post at the Vic or something. Anyway, my name's Ruth Higgins and my email is ruthhiggins7@gmail.com.
Ruth, if we could share your email with everyone on here, if you want. Okay, we could do that. Thank you. Before we get, I know the sheriff and the health department, they are on limited time, so I'm going to try to wrap this up. Regarding the cleanup, I don't know if Dora Lee mentioned, because I'm trying to read everyone's messages too at the same time. If you want to sign up or let us know you're coming, it's on the website. And we really try to share information from the health department, from the sheriff's department, on our Facebook and on our website. So if follow us, make sure you're following us on Facebook or go to our website if you have any questions. And to sign up for the cleanup too. That's very important. We need everyone's help. So come out on after that.
And signing up is important because the health department gets some money from Adopt a Block, which is a state program to help defray the costs of the litter and all being dumped. SSC isn't responsible for the dumpsters. So the more signups we have, the better it is for that.
And we're trying to do no contact sign up. So we posted it online. So trying to encourage people to do that. And then once again, too, if you need some masks or know a business that need masks, we have plenty left. So come by. Me and Danielle, we're here Monday through Friday, 9 to 12. But if you can't make it into those hours, we're available to 4 p.m. By appointment. And Deb has a question.
Just real quick, how popular is the social media platform Nextdoor in your community?
It's pretty popular, and I think we posted some stuff on it. Are you part of Nextdoor? Yeah, I would go on that for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And make sure everyone can on here too can share the information on their platform. So whatever we share, please share, because then that gets the word out even bigger into a bigger crowd.
Liz?
Yes.
We'll have trash bags at the Vic Saturday night as well. I'll be down there around 6 o'clock, passing them out along the bay. So if you want to participate in that, it really helps with the cleanup the next day. If at least the people that are celebrating, put their stuff in bags at least, rather than just pile it so we have to do it. So I'll be down there about 5:30 or 6. And so, or you can stop by earlier and get some bags if you can't pick them up yourself. But if you live along Birch Bay Drive, I encourage you to go for a nice polite walk and have conversations with people and give them a trash bag. They really appreciate it. I've done it for 3 years in a row now. And it's kind of fun. I hit the whole beach. So there you go.
Billy?
One more thing about that. Danielle, you want to show the signs that we had made for the trash? And we got these, just trying to encourage people to keep our beaches clean. So the chamber made a couple signs that we're going to try to post out this weekend along the way. Yeah. They all have different fun little sayings on them. So, and they're really big. So hopefully that will get people's attention.
Great.
But once again, thank you all for coming on. This is recorded, so we could post it on our website if anyone wants to share it with anyone. Dora Lee, you have something to say?
Well, I was just going to tell a funny story. Last year, I live at North Cottonwood Beach, and so I call it my beach, and I take my litter bags out there, and I dress up sort of like 4th of July, and I go out and I deliver trash bags to everybody. And the people the last few years on the beaches here have been very respectful and responsible, and they smile and they're so glad to get trash bags. And last year, Billy, you came down and did my beach before I got out there. So the people really already had their trash bags, and they just thought it was so cool that people were on the beach giving them these trash bags and everything. And I didn't know who it was that had already been there, but I found out it was you. So we're doing double time out here at Birch Bay, taking care of ourselves, which is really a good thing.
Yeah, it takes a community, and I encourage everyone to share with visitors that come along to practice social distancing. That's really what it takes to get everyone on the same page. So thanks again for everyone coming on. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Doug, John, and Deb for answering all those questions. And if you have any questions or concerns, like I said, feel free to email us at, I would say email at events@birchbaychamber.com, and we could try to answer that for you. But thank you, everyone, and be safe and have a great 4th of July weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.